Hi, in this video, I'm going to talk about Section 179 expense election. So first of all, what is Section 179 expense election? Here says the Section 179 expense election allows an annual expensing of the cost of tangible personal property. Usually is called Section 1245 properties, such as business computers, business trucks, in any 1 year up to a certain amount. So basically, if you run a business, then you have, a lot like a personal property, like computers, business trucks. Basically, this Section 179 actually allow you to expense some or all of your cost in 1 year, which is a great deal. You can choose like in a year. Like you make lots of profit and income, so you can expense all those things, so reduce your taxable income, right? So yeah, this is very beneficial for you to use. Unless you have to go through, the regular depreciation schedules, which is those Section 1245 properties. Those depreciation schedule usually is allow you 5 years to 7 years those life to depreciate your assets. So Section 179 allow you to depreciate, which is to expense, kind of you depreciate in a year, so which is great. So to be eligible for this election, the property must be used at least 50% for your business in the first year. That is placed in service, with only the actual business percentage eligible for the election. I guess some of the property you are like, if you buy a car, you use it personal use and business use. So this basically said you have to use 50% in the business. Then the maximum deduction under the Section 179 for the qualified personal property other than sports utility, luxury autos is 1.05 million for 2021. So here I want to mention a little bit. Section 179 is only for personal property. So for real property, it's not for real property, especially for the building, but maybe for some qualified, like a roof, fence, stuff like that, that may be qualified for Section 179. So how much they allow you to deduct each year? So maximum is 1.05 million, which is in 2021. So you maximum, no matter say you have a 3 million, that only allow you 1.05 million. So then also they say, if the total amount of the qualifying property placed in the service for the given year is more than 2.62 million for 2021, the allowance is reduced dollar for dollar for any amount more than 2.62 million. So this one, I will have example later. So basically, I'm not sure. They basically just said, well, it's if you place qualified property is more than 2.62 million, the cost, right? So they will reduce you allowed to use the maximum deduction. I don't know why. They maybe try to limit you to use this. So basically, if you have a big ticket item like 10 million, 10 million, 100 million, big ticket item, that won't allow you to use it. Section 9. I think 179 section, I think this is probably intended to for small business. That's why. There's another called bonus depreciation. There's no limit on it. So that's you probably can use that for like a big ticket items, like an airplane or something like that. So I will talk about bonus depreciation a little bit in other video. So the last thing says the amount of the deduction cannot exceed the taxable income from the trade or business of the taxpayer. Although carryover is allowed here, therefore a loss cannot be created using the election. Well, so basically what this means, in this year, your taxable income is, let's say your taxable income is $500,000. Then you want to use this limit. You cannot do 1.05 then get a loss, right? Then the loss you carry forward, stuff like that. So basically, then you cannot deduct more than your taxable income. If your taxable income is $5,000, then that's it. You can reduce your taxable income all the way to zero, but you cannot have elective, taxable income, which is a loss. So that's they try to say here. So what's new in 2021? They basically say the Section 179 deduction limit for year beginning 2021, the maximum Section 179 expense deduction is $1,050, and this limit reduced by the amount of the rate cost. 179 property placed in service doing exceeding 2.62 million. So anyway, so that's the limit that increased in 2021. However, in this video, I have some examples that from IRS website, which is using 2020's number. So that will be a little bit different number there. So just to quick summarize for Section 179 expense election, first is for tangible personal property. Most is the Section 1245 properties. Then some of the real property, as I said, so you cannot use Section 179 for your a building or land or something, but you can use for fence, for roof. You have to see. You have to go to search the list on IRS website, see if it's qualified, right? So most personal property is qualified. The maximum deduction is lesser. It's lesser 1.05 million. That's the annual limit. Then taxable income. So basically, how much you can deduct. So if your taxable income is less than the annual limit, you only can deduct your taxable income. So that's the same. So also, the total amount of the qualified property you placed in service qualify for 179. So if it's more than 2.62 million, so every dollar above this gonna reduce the allowance, no matter the allowance is your taxable income or the annual allowance. So I have example coming up. So dollar limit. So this is from IRS publication 946 on page 18. So we just a quick view say the total amount you can elect to deduct under the Section 179 for the most property placed in service in tax year beginning in 2020 generally cannot be more than 1.04 million. So this one is a 2020 number. If you acquire or placed in service more than one items of qualifying property during the year, you can allocate the Section 179 deduction among the items in any way, as long as the total deduction is not more than 1.04 million. You do not have to claim all the full 1.04 million. So this basically is tell you that, well, you can do multiple properties, right? So let's say you have computers, you have trucks, you can have machines. So all those added together, you can deduct more than 1.04 million. So you can choose whatever amount you want to. Let's see an example here. This is IRS example. Say in 2020, you bought and placed in service 1.04 million in machine. You can see here this cost is exactly equal to the annual limit. Then $25,000 circular saw for your business. You elect to deduct. You here you didn't deduct the whole amount of the machine. You only deduct 1.015 for the machine. Then the entire $25,000 for the saw. The total 1.040. So added together, so you reach the limit. This is the maximum amount you can deduct. Your 25,000 deduction for the saw completely recovered its cost. Your basis for the depreciation is 0. The basis for the depreciation for the machine is 25,000. You figure this subtracting 1.015 section 179 deduction for the machine from the 1.04 cost of the machine. So let's just see for the machinery. So you purchase, which is your cost, purchase price, your cost is 1.04 million, right? You choose to deduct 179 deduction is you choose to expense 1.015 million. Then your adjusted basis is 25. So you left is 25. So if you turn around after you deduct the 1.79 deduction, after first years you deduct this, then you turn around. If you sell this machine, you have to understand that your adjusted basis only 25,000. So if you sell, for $500,000, so then you will recapture the depreciation like $475,000. You have to pay tax on that. So that's that. For Section 1245 property, for depreciation recapture is the entire amount. It's ordinary. Is taxed at ordinary income tax rate. So you don't have a special low long-term tax rate. And so for the circular saw here situation, you purchase price, which is the cost 25,000. Then you 179 deduction is 25,000. So your adjusted basis is 0. So if you turn around sell at $10,000, you have to recapture that $10,000 to be taxed at your ordinary income tax rate. Okay, so let's talk about cost exceeding. So this is in 2020 your number is 2.62 million. So however in 2020 this is 2021. The 2020 is 2.59 million. So in this example, in 2020 number. So if the cost your qualifying Section 179 property placed in service is more than 2.59 million, you must generally reduce the dollar limit, but not below 0, by the amount the cost is 2.5 limit. If the cost of your Section 179 property placed in service during 2020 is 3.63 million or more, you cannot take a Section 179 deduction. So let's see what does it say here. So basically just say, well, if your total cost is more than 2.5 million, right? Every dollar above gonna reduce your allowance. With allowance in 2020 is 1.04 million. So gonna reduce this amount. So then all the way, so if your cost is more than 3.63 million, so you can see this is the ceiling. You can more than this you have $0 deduction allowance. Basically this number is the exceed limit plus the deduction limit, right? So that's how they get it. So yeah, so basically, so you they only allow, the maximum. If you have a 3.63 million, you have basically cannot do 179 property expensing at all. I guess they try to limit the bigger ticket items, right? So here a little example that in 2020, June placed the service machine costing 2.64 million. This cost is 50,000 more than this limit, so she must reduce the dollar limit to 9,900. So basically what's saying, example say, well, the total placed in service is 2.64 million, right? So what's the limit? The limit is 2.59 million. So how many exceeded? Is 50,000 exceeded. $50,000 gonna be used to reduce your deduction limit. Is reduced to $990,000. So basically, she only can deduct 179 expensing. Maximum she can expensing is $990,000. So that's that. So this is a little for married individuals. It's very interesting. Say if you are married, how you figure your Section 179 deduction depending on whether you file jointly or separately. If you file a joint return and your spouse are treated as a one taxpayer in determining any reduction to dollar limit regardless of which you are purchasing the property or placing it in service. If you and your spouse file separate return, you are treated as a one taxpayer for the dollar limit, including the reduction for the cost over 2.59 million. You must allocate the dollar limit between you equally, unless you both elect different allocation. If the person elected by each of you do not total 100%, 50 will be allocated to each of you. So that's regarding the married couple. So basically, if you are married, file separately, your limit, so your total limit, like deduction limit and the total cost exceeding limit, the total cannot exceed the limit, but you can allow to allocate. So basically here is a little example size. So you cannot deduct, your deduction cannot exceed your taxable income, right? The amount of the deduction cannot exceed the taxable income from the trade or business of the taxpayer. Although the carryover is allowed, a loss cannot be created. Here example say in 2021, Benz Corporation purchased and placed the service office machine costing $20,000. However, the taxable income for the corporation in 2021 is only $10,000. Therefore, the maximum Section 179 expenses that may be taken by is only $10,000, while the $20,000 of the expense is eligible. Only $10,000 may be taken because the deduction amount is limited to the business taxable income. The remaining $10,000 may be carried over for use in the future. So you have a cost $20,000, but your income is only $10,000. So you only allow the income deduction amount, right? So income deduction amount. So the rest of the $10,000 you can carry forward in the future. So then here they also said the adjusted basis. So your machine, the cost is $20,000. You use the 179 deduction, then your adjusted basis reduced to $10,000 here.